Hello and welcome to On the Record, a debate-style television talk show where Bahamians will find the balanced, true, and open debate they've been looking for. Philip Brave Davis has emerged as the elected leader of the 64-year-old Progressive Liberal Party, beating out former PLP cabinet minister Glenys Hanna-Martin. Newcomer Chester Cooper is now the party's deputy leader. The party's three-day convention ended Wednesday with a full slate of elected officers. It's the first time the party has met in convention since the May 10th election defeat. But those 3 days have left quite a bit of material for discussion. The election process got off to a rocky start and went on late into the night, in effect canceling the final night of convention speeches. And then, of course, the use of the N-word by one of the speakers shocked audiences. Well, we have a lot to discuss on tonight's show. Our topic, Convention 2017, Making the PLP Great Again. And our guests are attorney and member of parliament for the Tall Pines constituency, Don Saunders, journalist Candia Dames, who is the managing editor of the Nassau Guardian. It's all On the Record. I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer. Our show will begin on the other side of this break.
On the Record is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
What do you believe?
Do you believe in energy? Do you believe in dreams?
Do you believe in passion?
Do you believe in family?
Do you believe in caring?
Do you believe in freedom?
Do you believe in imagination?
Do you believe in love?
Do you believe in community?
Do you believe in discovering?
Do you believe in music?
Do you believe in yourself?
Do you believe in living?
Believe in best.
Alive. Believe in best.
Is your loved one celebrating a birthday? Or maybe they're commemorating a special occasion and you don't know what to get them? Why not get them something custom made from Executive Printers? At Executive Printers, you can create personalized calendars, greeting cards, and even playing cards just for them. A one-of-a-kind gift. They can even do personalized cups, mugs, keychains, coasters, and notepads. So come in and place an order today. We are located on Jerome Avenue South, or log on to epbahamas.com for more info.
Welcome back to On the Record. Convention 2017 is now history, and those who support the PLP have now got to adjust to new leadership. Kyle Walker of Our News was on the ground for the late vote count last night. Kyle, we spoke at one point last evening and, sort of giving us an update on the process, but really what went wrong to have precipitated all those events? I mean, with the convention not even happening the last night.
Well, Jerome, what went wrong is still the question that many people want the answer to. Because to start, the voting process was supposed to start at 8 a.m. and end at 1 p.m. As we got towards 10, 11, we realized, hey, something is wrong here. You had delegates who were out there waiting in line, anxious to vote, and they couldn't. There was a backup. You had two voting stations that you had hundreds and hundreds of people just trying to get into. So by 10, 11, we realized that there was a problem. Next thing we knew, there was a sign coming out that we've extended voting to 3:30 p.m. That turned into 5 p.m. That turned into 6. 9 o'clock, by 9 p.m., you still had, I think, a handful of people voting. And I think there were a lot of irregularities, and I understand there was an issue with the voting register. Some people who haven't paid dues were perhaps showing up to vote. There were other issues. The power went out twice last evening, 10, 15 minutes at a time. And there were a lot of factors that played with this major delay, and I think we didn't get a result until 11:30 last night. The newly elected leader, Philip Brave Davis, gave his speech just before midnight. So it was irregular, to say the least.
What, I guess, was the mood of the people to, first of all, have been delayed for this period of time and to watch all of this unfold? I mean, from the public's perspective looking in, you know, people were horrified, but I'm trying to figure out what was the mood like
being
inside.
there, you have to understand that people were very impatient, and rightly so, because you have people who came from the Family Islands who came here to vote. And so you have the elderly, the disabled, everyone out there just trying to get inside to exercise their democratic right within the party. And to have that happen, you have people who went home and perhaps weren't interested in coming back. I can't say for sure if they came back. But to have a voting process still going on at 9 p.m., I mean, come on. And if you were there, you can see that people, like I said, were impatient. They were upset. They waited a long time for this. This is only the third time they are electing a new leader within the party. And so for that opportunity, you had people out there, a lot of supporters for Mr. Davis, obviously a handful for Mrs. Glenys Hanna Martin as well. But people were just anxious to cast their vote, and they could not do it. So you had people upset, rowing. Thankfully, it didn't get physical.
Now, we would have seen the comments from the newly elected leader on his victory last night.
Right.
I'm curious, though, as to was there any indication of the future of Glenys Hanna Martin? Is she going to throw her full support? Because history would have, or history would show that leadership races don't always turn out very well. Any party. I mean,
Right.
the PLP has had its issues, and the FNM. What was generally, did you get a sense of what her future would be with the party?
She sent out a speech afterward, and she said she's still dedicated to working towards helping the party and helping the country. We did not see that hold my hand moment on stage with the winner and the person who was unsuccessful. We didn't get that. I looked for her afterwards, but I didn't see her. But
She had expressed concerns going in, though, about the
yes,
voting process.
she did prior to. She hinted that there are some irregularities there, and sure enough, they all played out yesterday before the hundreds of delegates. And so I'm not sure. I don't think anyone can say for sure what the future of Glenys Hanna Martin will be within the PLP. It's going to be interesting to see.
Another interesting race was the race really for chairman. You would have had Obie Wilshcombe and Fred Mitchell as the two big guns squaring off two former cabinet ministers.
And the new face, Glendon Roll.
But Mitchell would have emerged as the victor. Any indication on what Obie Wilshcombe's role might be going forward, or what?
I think it's going to be a very interesting conversation to have with him because, as we know, he former cabinet minister, long-standing MP, and now you're not an MP, you're not a cabinet minister, and now
you really have no role in the
you are
party.
unsuccessful.
Right.
Seeking chairmanship, but you still have a familiar face in Fred Mitchell. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens to Mr. Wilshcombe, if he's still going to be interested in helping the party as he said he would. And it's also going to be interesting to see what happens with the newer faces like Glendon Roll, who wanted to offer themselves for top posts within the party and were unsuccessful because you have a familiar face again like Mr. Mitchell, who clung on to that Brave Davis ticket.
No surprise either with, of course, Chester Cooper emerging as the deputy leader, a newcomer to politics, a newcomer to the party. A lot of people looking towards him as really, the future of the party in many ways, because you've got in a Brave Davis and a Fred Mitchell, former cabinet minister, served under the Christie administration, but now you have this fresh face who's number two.
I'm sure when Chester Cooper offered himself to run on the PLP's ticket earlier this year, I don't think he expected all of this to happen. I don't think he expected months later, I will be the deputy leader of this party. But here he is. He came in, I think his first presentation in the House of Assembly, I remember it like it was yesterday, he was very critical, in his first presentation, to the PLP. He was very critical of their performance. And he said what a lot of people were thinking, and that's what everybody liked about him. And the fact that he's now the deputy leader, I think everyone's looking forward to him being that breath of fresh air. Because again, you have two former cabinet ministers, leader and chairman. You have someone new in there that's going to be critical and bring those fresh ideas that I'm sure the younger sector of that party wants to see and hear.
Well, definitely going to be interesting few months and years until the next
An interesting
race.
5 years, to say the least.
Yeah, and they've already said that they will go into convention again before the next election. But thank you very much. Appreciate you stopping by, bringing us up to speed. Good reporting. Well, when we come back, we are going to continue our discussion on the recent convention of the Progressive Liberal Party and what the future of that party may look like. We will be back with more On the Record right after this.
On the Record is sponsored by BAF Financial. BAF for life.
I'm free to live my life, yeah. Free to be me, yeah. The way I wanna be. Doing the things that I wanna do.
Yes, I'm living my life. Hey, BAF for life. Yes, I'm living my life. Hey, BAF for life.
For life, BAF has got you covered.
Get in the game with NFL Sunday Ticket from Rev TV. You'll get every game every Sunday afternoon in crystal clear HD. That's over 220 football games for the entire regular season. Plus, NFL Sunday Ticket gives you that died and woke up in football heaven experience when you include NFL Red Zone, a channel dedicated to every scoring play from every game and all your fantasy football teams. Get in the game with NFL Sunday Ticket. Call 601-8992 today.
Play with Island Games. We making dreams come true. Play with Island Games. We paying more out to you. Don't mind the noise in the market. You getting cash in your pocket. 'Cause Island Games is spicy and spicy is tradition. So when you play, we putting Bahamians first. Guaranteed to pay. We like them other jokers. We've been here from the start. From the bike to computer. Island Games. We can make your dreams come true. We playing with Island Games.
Welcome back to On the Record. Our topic tonight is Convention 2017, Making the PLP Great Again. In studio, Kendia Dames, a journalist with many years' experience, and she's the managing editor of the Nassau Guardian, along with Don Saunders, an attorney and a member of Parliament for the Tall Pines constituency. Mr. Saunders is also the Deputy Speaker of the House of Assembly. Welcome to On the Record. I just want to say from the outset that we attempted to have a member of the Progressive Liberal Party join us tonight. We made several attempts, but we were turned down, didn't get any answer. And so I just want to put it out there that we did attempt to have someone from the party to come and speak with us, but that does not diminish your position here at all. Kendia, welcome back.
Thank you. So I'm not here to represent the
No.
Party.
And Dawn, certainly good to have you on. This is your first time.
It's a pleasure to be here. I always watch the show. So.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. So tonight we're talking about the recent PLP convention. Kyle Walking would have sort of given us a snapshot into last night and what happened. And I want to begin a bit at that point and then sort of go back into the convention highlights. But for an election process, which is not new to this party or any party, to have ended the way it did last night, I think, I'm going to ask you this. What kind of message do you think that sent to the public about the state of the PLP at this point?
Well, I mean, I think it sends the message that I think the Bahamian people have had in their minds, even prior to election, that this party really is in a state of chaos, that in the same way that they were governing this country in a state of chaos, in a state of direction here, direction there, and not focused. And we saw that evidence in this few days of what could be considered in the history of the Bahamas, the worst convention. We say every day nowadays that the PLP had the worst government the last 5 years. We could add one more thing to that. The worst convention, the worst gathering of their members from throughout the Bahamas. I could only imagine how my friends felt came in from Exuma, who came in from Michael, who came in from Grand Bahama. They see that, notwithstanding the fact that they are trying to sell this idea that they're going to become a new party, making the PLP great again, I don't see that being portrayed. And even last night, as I watched to see the results and to hear what they actually had to say on their last night, was a disaster. So the Bahamian people, I think, share that same view. And by no means, I think the new leader of the PLP could say that they're in the right direction of making the PLP great. Again, it's a different story. I think the last time the PLP, one could argue that they were great, in my view, was when they brought us into the independent Bahamas, and maybe arguably several years after, 1 or 2 years afterwards.
Kendia, your
But not
take
great
on,
again.
Your take on last night and the results.
Well, before I say that, I just smiled to myself because notwithstanding the very chaotic process of yesterday, and it was tremendously chaotic, we all had a very late night. I still don't think that it was the worst convention ever. I do still think that the worst convention ever was last July, the F&M's convention, but it just shows you what a party can get beyond. Because even with the very lackluster convention that the PLP had this week, not completely surprising given that it is a post-election convention and not a pre-election convention, I still think that what transpired last year in July with the Free National Movement, as conventions go, I still think that trumps what happened yesterday. But we are on yesterday, so let me get back on that. I don't think that Davis's emergence as the victor in the race came as a surprise to many people. As you know, he got over 1,000 votes. Glenys Hanna Martin got 300, according to the unofficial results that we got last night. Fred Mitchell's election as chairman, although it is nothing for anyone to be excited about. And I think the public looks at that and says, well, gee, this is the new PLP. Of course, it's not sending the signals to the electorate that the PLP gets the message that was sent in May, on May 10th in that election. But Mitchell was put there because he was seen as someone who could beat Obi Wishcombe, and he, in fact, did that. So it was interesting to watch. It was a bit of a train wreck, though. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this party really does rebrand, if in fact it is able to do that.
Within this new slate of officers, you have 2 former cabinet ministers under the Christie administration. But you also have a Chester Cooper, who would have entered politics just before the election, been one of 4 who would have won his seat, but seen in many ways as a future. Neither of you sort of have spoken to him, but what do you see as his real role in the party? Because the leader obviously charts the course and moves the party forward. Sometimes the deputy is just a figurehead.
Yeah. I think, and I must, I can't let James get it.
You're going to dispute that July
I have to. I mean,
convention?
as far as conventions go, I came back from school in 2001, and I've been in every F&M convention, notwithstanding the issues. A convention is to select leaders, your leader, your deputy leader, officers. Notwithstanding the battle for leadership, at least we got through it smoothly. At least we're able to present our views to the public, and therefore you cannot categorize our last election
if I could
convention
defend for a minute, I think the optics of that July convention were not good for the F&M
but
at all.
I would say,
been there.
I would say, Jerome, notwithstanding that, I would say definitely went off, and Bahamians got the message.
Well, you were able to get back on track, and that's what. Yeah.
Okay. I just have to say that. I couldn't.
So let's get back to now
Chester
Cooper.
Chester, I must congratulate him, notwithstanding the fact that he's at another party. Chester and I were both head boys at Ellen Coakley, so Ellen Coakley must be proud, and Exuma. But Chester we know that Chester is a bright Bahamian. We can't take that away from him. I personally believe that he chose the wrong party, but I'm not going to go there. But he's a bright Bahamian. He obviously has expertise in finance. He obviously wants to serve. I think the PLP could not have gotten away with not bringing a new face in. And a personality, and a professional like Chester really puts something at the table, at least, for the PLP. I think Chester's going to bring a sense of good debate in terms of finance to
But he
Parliament.
has been outspoken against a lot of things within the
PLP,
PLP
yes.
from his time
think-
in Parliament. How do you think that will continue now? You're in a leadership position now. You're the number 2 man in the party. Can that continue?
I think so. I mean, Chester Cooper is the one bright spot in this new leadership team. I think that he represents what many people would want to see the new PLP look like. He's intelligent. He's able to straddle the fence, so to speak, in terms of that youthful generation. And the more
FNMs like him as well.
seasoned, and he's
said that he joined the wrong party.
yeah, he's well liked. He's certainly competent, and since the general election, and even before, he certainly has demonstrated a degree, a very high degree of honesty in terms of being and courage in terms of being critical of his own party. He is, of course, the only new face in the PLP's parliamentary team in the House. The other 3 obviously were incumbents. And so it's going to be very interesting to watch him perform. I think he has a bright future in the party.
Now, by bright future, do you either of you see him making a run for leader? The reason I say that is because I remember a similar conversation following the 2012 election. Hubert Minnis became leader of the party, and it was thought, oh, he's going to hold on for a while until we get to elections, or close to election, and then another leader may emerge. Do you think that conversation is going on within the PLP?
I think we'll have to see how Mr. Davis reacts to this new position, what he does. Based on what we've seen over the years, as he served as an MP and as a deputy leader, deputy prime minister, leading. Well, I've been deputy leader, leading. I still say he was a part of the leadership of the party that I still say brought us the worst government ever. And see if there's a transition. Chester, obviously, when he came in, you spoke to how he criticized the party. I'm going to say this respectfully, Jerome. What else could he have said? He had to come in
he could have said
being
nothing.
real.
He could have
lied.
He could have said what all of the others were saying.
I don't think
and that is suggesting that the voters were somehow duped or too stupid to understand what it was they were doing on May 10th. And he could have been in complete denial and a complete state of delusion, as other PLPs remain.
Chester's too smart for that.
But do you think, though, and we're going to go to the break right after this, so we'll be very quick. Do you think, though, when the position of leader comes up again for election, that Brave Davis will be able to hold on to that position, or will we see an even more ferocious
as we get closer
battle for leader?
I think, as I said, it doesn't depend how Mr. Davis performs, but I wouldn't be surprised. I think going into the election, when things really heat up, I think the people are going to be calling more and more for new leadership and new demands. And going into an election with a former deputy prime minister who led the charge, and we don't forget, that's Brave Davis' ministry had a lot of fiascos. You had Bamsey, which was a part of his ministry. You had several other things that happened. And he was
to his defense, we're going to go to the, but to his defense,
he was not a powerful deputy prime minister.
But he also has experience, which really speaks. But anyway,
a lot of people with experience that the Bahamians rejected.
We are going to pick up the discussion again. We are at the point of our latest break in the show. Stay with us. We are discussing Convention 2017, making the PLP great again. This Dames, I can't say your name. Candia Dames. My guest, join us for more right after this.
This segment is sponsored by Percy's Island Game.
Play with Island Games. We making dreams come true. Play with Island Games. We paying more out to you. Don't mind the noise in the market. You getting cash in your pocket. 'Cause Island Games is spicy and spicy is tradition. So when you play, we putting Bahamians first. Guaranteed to pay. Island Games. We like them other jokers. We've been here from the start. From the bike to computer. Island Games. We gonna make your dreams come true. We playing with Island Games.
Yep. I got you.
I really appreciate you helping us out.
No problem, buddy.
Yeah, but thanks for helping us all.
Oh, I see you.
What happened, babe? What you mean?
Our news weekend has moved to 7:30.
I'm free to live my life, yeah. Free to be me, yeah. The way I wanna be. Doing the things that I wanna do.
Yes, I'm living my life. Hey, BAF for life. Yes, I'm living my life. Hey, BAF for life.
For life, BAF has got you covered.
You're watching On the Record. Welcome back. We're discussing the results of the PLP election of officers and the way forward for the party. Convention 2017, Making the PLP Great Again, is our topic. On opening night, Monique Pinling, daughter of Sir Lyndon Pinling, gave a really rousing speech. She really, I think, said in many ways what a lot of people were quietly saying or didn't have the guts to get up and say. Time to drop the old weight, and talked about, you know, many of the issues that helped to put the PLP in the position that it's in right now. Why was that so effective coming from her?
Well, I think it was surprising in a sense. When I heard early in the day that she was the keynote speaker, I called several PLPs and I was just like, you know, explain this to me.
Mhm.
What's this about? So my expectations, really, to be honest, were that she would be another PLP with the same message that, you know, we're a great party, we're the only party competent enough to govern this country effectively. I expected her to stick to the, you know, the usual PLP playbook.
The talking points.
Talking points. So she came out of another direction, and it was striking to hear. It became our lead story the next day, as you saw. She said, as you indicated, what many people felt, what voters were feeling when they went to the polls. Now, there were people, I followed social media throughout the day yesterday, monitoring reaction the day after on Tuesday. And there were a lot of people who were saying, well, isn't it ironic that Pinling's daughter is the one with this message when some of the things that she said, some of the criticisms that she made could easily have applied to those very dark years under the Pinling administration in the 80s, you know, when the issue of corruption and greed and abuse of power were very legitimate issues. So some people saw it as, you know, she was not the right person to give that message.
Well, why not? I think she may have been the perfect person to give that message.
It turns out that, you know, I think that her message was widely accepted, and that she, you know, she got great applause in terms of the national environment. She was roundly applauded for saying what she said at that convention, and it was something to hear with many of those who were in the Christie cabinet, who were the ones responsible for exactly what she was saying.
Must have been an uncomfortable time for many in that hall.
I'm sure it would have been uncomfortable for some of them, no doubt.
I think Michelle,
Monique.
sorry, really, I think she wanted to defend the perception of her father in the party and the message that was always out there, that PLPs always refer back to Sir Lyndon. And now look where you've taken this party. So, and rightfully, without a doubt, I think she would be probably the only speaker that really would be remembered from this convention. I think I heard Picewell Forbes, he spent on the first 5 minutes of his speech doing the typical PLP speech where we brought you from slavery, we brought you to where the promised land, we started NIB, so forth, and then the Minister for Grand Bahama. So the point is with Ms. Pinling is that I think they wanted to maintain the Pinling brand, I guess. But I think that in the long term, I think the party, the Bahamian people, while we respect Sir Lyndon, I think the Bahamian people want to move from that. We will always respect Sir Lyndon. I'm an FNM, I respect Sir Lyndon. We want to move away from that. And maybe she wanted to show, hey, as bad as you may think, my family name is Pinling, which you spoke about, the 80s. I mean, we still had some morals, and we expect this party to stick to those.
It's still interesting, but the Pinling name is still very relevant. Yes. Within the PLP and Revere.
Probably one of the only relevant things they have going on.
I want to move forward too. You mentioned that she being a memorable speaker, but there was also somebody else who was very memorable from this convention. Former Senator Robin Nines, in her spirited address, referred to the governing party saying that these, N-word, don't know what to do. That caused quite a bit of.
Yes, and she has since apologized.
Yes,
right?
she has apologized.
But the thing that really stood out for me was not just the N-word. It was the suggestion from her that there's going to be, I don't know, is there going to be a militia to overthrow the government?
That was very concerning.
She's saying that
they won't last.
She's saying we're going to get rid of them long before 2022, and I'm still waiting to hear. I mean, how is that going to happen? How's that? I mean, that really is what she ought to have apologized for. I'm not sure the suggestion there, and no one's really talking about that. They're talking about her use of the N-word.
Which in her defense, we use it in regular conversation all the time, but not in polite company or publicly.
What's the plan to get rid of the Free National Movement Administration long before 2022? I mean, we don't even hear that from Fred Mitchell.
Well, they can't even get a convention off the ground. So how could she already be talking about getting rid of an FNM government, who I think, and I think most Bahamians think, we're laying the foundation. I mean, we talked about bringing into play transparency, good governance, a strong economy, but you have to lay that seed. And so we're introducing new bills. You've seen that last week. And the weeks prior, we would have introduced a bill for the ombudsman. We would introduce some legislation relating to enterprise. We would have tabled a bill on the independent director of public prosecution. We're looking at a bill for an amendment to the Port Authority, the Free Port Authority Act, whatever it's called, I can't remember the correct term. Several other bills. The point I'm trying to make is that we're laying the right foundation in order to move the country forward. 6 months into our administration, I think the Bahamian people are proud of what we've been able to lie on the table so far and the direction in which we're going. So to make a statement like that, and I agree with Mr. Dames, I think it's kind of premature at this stage, especially at this stage where, you know, we hear Chester in the House combating the Minister of Finance. We hear, I don't know if she's going to continue to be popping up and down, Angliston, objections and so forth, points of orders. We hear Mr. Davis every now and then popping in there, but there hasn't been any real meaningful attack on the legislative agenda. They even started off the budget debate by saying that we should be polite and, I would, in my words, lie to the Bahamian people, lie to the world about the state of our affairs. We combated that and we said, no, we have to be real, we have to be true to ourselves, we have to be respectful in how we approach.
I want to bring something up too. Since you opened this door, although this is not the FNM show, but FNM recently elected a new chairman in Carl Culmer, an unknown in politics. How do you think he's going to shape up to a Fred Mitchell, now
You know
chairman
what,
of the
To be honest
PLP?
with you, I don't know enough about him. I've not had very many experiences with him. His initial press statements have demonstrated that the FNM intends to continue sending out poor quality press statements. I think they need to address that. Again, I've not seen enough of him to know. But we're talking about the PLP, right? And I think it's important that when we talk about, what's going to happen, what may happen, what we see happening down the road with the leadership, etc., I always think about the Free National Movement's very chaotic and lackluster performance as an opposition party. I mean, they were horrendous, okay? But lined up against the performance of the then government, they were viewed by the electorate as the option that they would go with, and that is the option that the electorate went with. So when we talk about the PLP and the way forward and Davis and what's going to happen, it's important to remember that electorates vote against
governments out.
More so than they vote
governments out.
I mean, it's been 6 months, and I think that while this new administration has a great deal of goodwill still after the May 10th election, I think that there is a sense among many people that things are, we're stagnant. We're in a holding pattern. And so I think that this administration needs to get moving on very key issues like job creation, getting the economy growing. The economy did not grow in that 5-year period under the Christie administration. People were not feeling as if things were getting better. People have very serious concerns about crime. I mean, people ask me all the time, well, now that your brother's National Security Minister, what are your views on the crime situation? I mean, the reality is that if we do not start to feel safer in our communities, if we do not see jobs coming, this government is going to get very unpopular very quickly,
these are fundamental
right?
issues where we have to take a break, but I want us to continue with that discussion, because these are fundamental issues to government as well as opposition to be able to address. Hold your point. We are going to take a quick break. More on the record right after this.
What do you believe?
Do you believe in energy? Do you believe in dreams?
Do you believe in passion?
Do you believe in family?
Do you believe in caring?
Do you believe in freedom?
Do you believe in imagination?
Do you believe in love?
Do you believe in community?
Do you believe in discovering?
Do you believe in music?
Do you believe in yourself?
Do you believe in living?
Believe in best.
Since our first episode on the record has had a profound effect on audiences, each week we push the boundaries of political debate, exploring the challenges of governance, the excitement of opposition politics, all against the backdrop of a majority young and oftentimes impatient electorate.
You are the expert here, yet you've done nothing. You appear to have no plan.
And from the time man has been on this world, men have been making mistakes.
God realized that's why he make hell.
Well, wait a minute, sir.
This is a benefit of being an independent juror. I don't have to sit there and squabble about who did what over the past 40, however many years.
We touch on the controversial, contentious, and current Our goal, to leave audiences more informed to make better decisions. Be sure and join us each Thursday at 8 p.m., cable channel 212. I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer. We hope to see you then.
Play with Island Games. We making dreams come true. Play with Island Games. We paying more out to you. Don't mind the noise in the market. You getting cash in your pocket. 'Cause Island Games is spicy and spicy is tradition. So when you play, we putting Bahamians first. Guaranteed to pay. Island Games. We like them other jokers. We've been here from the start. From the bike to computer. Island Games. We can make your dreams come true. We playing with Island Games.
Welcome back to On the Record. We're discussing Convention 2017, making the PLP great again. My guests, Kentia Dames and Don Saunders. As we went into the break, we sort of went into the discussion about the FNM and its performance in office thus far. Don, you would have laid out some things legislatively that the country, that the new government has done. And Kentia, you indicated really that well, I always say the honeymoon has been over for the Bahamian people, but there are some serious issues that continue to plague the country that have, rightfully so carried over. But it is never or should not be the government's job to say, well, this is what we were handed, but more importantly, this is what we have to deal with and are dealing with. So I think it's a very serious concern, particularly when it comes to jobs and crime.
Yeah, and as I said, I talked about the bill we're tabling. We have tabled with respect to enterprise. I think we're going to see a boost with new enterprise businesses coming in, a liberalization of some immigration policies, bringing in professionals. We know that I spoke about we're going to do an amendment to the Port Authority, a bill dealing with Freeport. We know that the government is working hard in Grand Bahama to turn around that economy with partnerships in the Lucaya Strip and in other areas of Grand Bahama, eastern part of Grand Bahama. We know that, and we know that Nassau. We understand that persons want to see results tomorrow, but I always say, we're trying to lay the right foundation. This government saved us from another downgrade, but I just say to the Bahamian people, we have a legislative agenda that we're pushing forward, and I think that they should be able to see some great results in the very near future. Carl Kalma, our new chairman, I must address that. He's new, he's fresh out the box, has a great history with the party. He's eager to represent the party, and I think in the coming days, you're going to see a very active and a very, I think he's going to really be an historic chairman because he's a grassroots type of guy.
Well, I'll say this though too, that when you're matching wits against, say, Fred Mitchell, he will have a tough job.
He has a team with him.
Okay.
I think he's going to do well, and I think a Fred Mitchell being elected at this convention is showing the Bahamian people that the PLP is doing what wants to do what they always done. They need some new faces.
In defense, now, the outgoing chairman, Bradley Roberts, was elected to chairmanship after he would have left frontline politics.
And where did that take them? Disaster.
The difficulty that the PLP is going to face is that people, many, many, many Bahamians, have long stopped listening to Fred Mitchell, right?
Thank you very much.
So that when Fred Mitchell speaks, you know what they're going to do? Turn off the TV. Right? It's going to be very difficult for Mitchell to be this relevant voice of change for the Progressive Liberal Party. I said in my column yesterday that he's become a national irritant, right? And I think that many people believe that. And so that is not, Mitchell being chairman for the PLP, I think, is more of a negative than it is of a positive. I think that with his election, the party is regressing. It's not demonstrating to the Bahamian people that we understand what it is you want. We understand what May 10th was about. And it's going to be very difficult for the PLP to convince the Bahamian people that it is about reforming, it is about moving forward, with Fred Mitchell as chairman, and Davis, as a former member of the Christie administration, is going to face some of those same challenges. Because even though some of the people close to Davis say or suggest that, you know, he deserves a chance and a pass because the former prime minister kept so much away from him. There was so much that he did not know. But Jerome, you know, Dawn knows, the Bahamian people know that there were some egregious actions of the former administration that, I mean, it attracted odium toward that government, and it led ultimately to what happened on May 10th. So to try to do this, to try to push this change with the people who created that, is going to be very, very difficult, if not impossible for the party.
Which you know, and again, I just want to preface what I'm about to say with the fact that we extended an invitation to members of the party to come on the show and to be able to defend. And so I, you know, by no means I'm here to defend, but I think what the Bahamian people will want from an effective opposition is to be able to effectively criticize and hold the government accountable. Of that slate in the House, the only one, by my estimation, in a position to do that at this point is a Chester Cooper.
Yeah, because same old. I don't think that Glennis Hanna Martin would have been palatable to the Bahamian people as Fred Mitchell isn't either. But as James is saying, people are saying it's his time. He peoples the party whenever they need him, they come. But the reality is that if you want to show change, if you want to show that your party is going in a different direction, you do what we did. Dr. Minnis was not a deputy prime minister or a deputy leader. He was a new leader. We had other persons. Peter Turnquest was not a deputy leader. He was in the party for many years, a fresh new face again. So a similar situation like Chester, financial person coming in and bringing new ideas from our second city. And the Bahamian people, notwithstanding all of the issues that we may have went through over the years, the Bahamian people said, listen, this looks like a fresh new start. And I think thus far, I think for the most part, Bahamians are saying, let's give this team a chance. And we want to thank them for that. And I want to say to them without a doubt that you're going to see some issues being addressed with respect to crime. You're going to see some issues being addressed specifically with respect to the environment and with respect to the economy, which is very important.
This ain't the FNM show now.
No,
you invited your PLP friend.
We had a talk about the future of the PLP.
And again, as a public domain poll, very strongly showed. And that was not surprising, really, to any of us. The election was not about Dr. Minnis, Peter Turnquest, and the team. The election was, we need Christie and that team gone. That is what the election was about. So don't delude yourself into thinking that there was some great love affair with this new team.
People want to change. People want to change,
exactly.
but they saw the change coming
there
with
has
Dr.
to be
Minnis.
a getting to know and a love fest if this government is going to sustain and get into the next election. I mean, I think people, like Kennedy said, the polls would have shown people wanted the PLP out.
At the same time, Jerome, I think that what we presented to people, I understand that, I respect that people want to change and governments are saying we have people, Bahamians now voting out governments. But at the same time, I think the FNM presented a very good plan to the people. I think Bahamians on a very good plan. I could show you
one of the things I found very interesting,
and
there were not a lot of promises made by the FNM. There were not a lot. So there's not a lot to hold.
Yes. If you listen to the Queen's speech,
I meant during the
if you listen to the speech from the throne and you see our legislative agenda and you look at where we're taking the country, I think, notwithstanding whether or not you may argue that the Bahamian people weren't really voting for us for what we presented, I think they were. I think they had confidence in our leadership, and I think they still have confidence in our leadership. And as I say again and again and again, we're going to move a legislative agenda that focuses on the economy, that focuses on the environment, and focuses on fighting crime to make our society safe. And it's very early in the game.
So let's get back to where we were supposed to be at this point. What is the future of a Glendon Roll, a Obi Roberts, Keenan Johnson, Joe Beth Davis. What is the future of those individuals within the PLP when you've got this new leadership team now that is predominantly made up of the old guard?
You know, I mean, I think that there is a future somewhere for them. We know that way back in 2012, it was Christie who said that he was the bridge to the future. I remember interviewing.
He started that in '97, I think, when he originally ran.
I remember interviewing him in 2010. When he said that, you know, if I get back in, I'm just going to serve two and a half years, and I'm going to step aside because I'm the bridge to the future. But you know, power is sweet, I suppose, and we all know we all know how
stepping away from that.
We all know how that story ended. Yeah. But I mean, I do think that that they each have something to. Each of them has something to offer the party and building the future of the PLP. So you know, I mean. Lines is the new deputy chairman of the party, so that's a very important role, I think, and she has an opportunity to be a part of whatever building and reforms that
off to a bit of a rocky start after this.
Off to a bit of a rocky start. Yes, but I mean, I wouldn't just dismiss them.
Yeah, but if you look at what the former chairman of the party said when he spoke to these new faces coming on the block, he said, "Well, those other people who are running, who are mostly the younger, newer faces." He was just basically dismissing them. That's Bradley. When he talked about who's running for leadership, who's running for chairmanship.
But his son was a part of that,
yes,
right?
No? He may believe that these new PLP persons who probably not new PLPs, but persons who want to serve in the party are of no significance. But I'm sure those persons thought they were significant. Their supporters thought that. And when I heard him make that statement, I said, this obviously is going to be the same old PLP guy coming in again. And a lot of people on the streets, I'm telling you, been talking about it. And so they're not really surprised. So let's see what happens.
One of the things that this race would have brought to the forefront again, I spoke to it last week when I had the members of the PLP on the show, and it's something that speaks to an issue within all parties. The stalwarts, stalwart councillors, make up the majority of the voting bloc, and then you have the smaller block of delegates from the constituencies.
Not in our party.
Well, the party chooses the leader, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The incumbent leader lines up some things to make sure that happens.
Well,
how do you stop that? How do you prevent that?
One of the things that was interesting to me this week that was laughable really is when Hannah Martin complained about the unfair process,
which
right?
has always
and
been
these
in
are
place.
Which has always been in place, and it's the same process that Alfred Sayers back in January when he challenged Christie complained about. And of course, no member of Christie's cabinet thought, at least not publicly, that the process was unfair. So it is the same process. The speech that Davis released last night, we all know it was chaos, and I, to be honest, I don't even know if he got to deliver much of it. But in that speech, he says a few critical things. One is that he makes this commitment to reform of the party's constitution. He acknowledges that what transpired yesterday must not be allowed to happen again. I mean, we all know that the elections yesterday, they pretty much ran the elections the way they ran the government. Very chaotic, disorganized fashion. He is committed to reform of the Constitution. Alfred Sayers has submitted a package of amendments, proposed amendments, that I think that the party is going to look at to prevent a leader from stacking the deck, as Sayers accused Christie of doing ahead of the 2000.
This would have been accused of the same thing by Loretta.
Ahead of the January election. So Davis has committed to reform, to change this process. Interestingly, and as an aside, he also had a couple other things to say, and one of the things that stood out to me is that his declaration and his commitment to zero tolerance to corruption. And so, I mean, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, whole other. Wait. Okay, wait. We've got one more break to take. I know you want to get in on that. Hold that thought. We'll be back more on the record right after this.
Get the HD Cinemax experience anywhere, anytime, and any way you want with the Cinemax Go app, free to all Rev TV subscribers. To start watching on your laptop, sign up at cablebahamas.com/myaccount. Then visit cinemaxgoca.com. To watch Cinemax Go on your mobile device, just download the app from the Bahamas iOS App Store or Google Play Store. Launch the app, select Bahamas as your country, follow the prompts, choose Rev, and sign in with your Rev My Account credentials. Now, you can enjoy unlimited access to over 300 movies updated every month with Cinemax Go from Rev.
Rev, join the revolution.
Welcome back to On the Record, our final segment. We continue our discussion tonight. Convention 2017, making the PLP great again. Don, I know we wanted to get in on that point as we went in.
I simply wanted to say that we know that the system in the PLP is different. They have a huge amount of stalwart counselors. The F&M system is a lot different than that. We only have, I think, about 100 MCMs now, and that number just increased lately in the last convention. So you don't have a situation where
MCMs
you have
being
Victoria's council members, which is equivalent to the PLP stalwart
But in
council.
terms of, but in terms of,
hold on. The delegates who are sent to the F&M convention, they're not selected by the leader. Their associations select them. The torchbearers have a group that's selected by them. The Women's Association have a group that's selected by them. And so the influence of the leader stacking an election or a convention is totally different in our party. I would argue that we have a more democratic system. And I just want to end on that note. Because I think the public has to appreciate that our party, we operate different. And our leadership, we value democracy and true democracy in our
Don, I just referred to last year's convention. I mean, as Kendia started out, that
it was a democratic process. You might not have liked the way some things happened, but it was a democratic process. We selected our leader. Persons had an opportunity to vote. The Bahamian had an opportunity to hear our platform. And as a result of hearing our platform, I still argue, notwithstanding the fact that they would have been very angry with the government, seeing all the corruption and the mayhem, that they said, hey, we're going to take a chance with this free national movement. And I applaud them and I thank them for it.
Let's move forward as we've got just a few more minutes to go. Right now, what is needed, Kendia, to change the image and perception of the PLP? What do they need to do over the next few years to make them a viable alternative to this government?
I think that they need to exercise humility. That's something that we did not see much of from the former administration. And I think that really, really angered many voters. So they need to be humble. They need to acknowledge, I think, and I think that there was a bit of a half acknowledgement from Davis previously that mistakes were made, but that there needs to be an acknowledgement that very serious mistakes were made. There needs to be an acknowledgement that the voters understood what they were doing and they did it for a specific reason. To continuously defend a record that the people so strongly rejected, I think is going to work against the party and whatever efforts it's seeking to make in terms of moving forward. Davis, as he's been solidified as leader of the party. He now has to heal. heal the factions or that may have developed during this whole process.
Well, yeah, this week helped to open some new wounds,
I mean,
I'm sure.
he did extend the olive branch to Hannah Martin last night and spoke about her qualities and her role in the fight that they have to do with what they're seeking to do. But I think that it's important that arrogance for which they are known, that they tone that down, and that when they criticize this government, it should be the very legitimate criticisms, not just to oppose for opposing sake. They should perhaps start by releasing, as Philip Galanis has called for, the post-election study that was conducted. Lay it all out, acknowledge the findings, and let that be a basis of what not to do. Okay, because in 2007, they had this study. We were able to release that at The Guardian as a result of a leak, right? And much of what that report said, the Greenberg report said, they did not listen to. And so they suffered an even more dismal fate this time around. So I think that there needs to be healing within the party. Davis, if he does some of the things that he outlined in that speech in terms of reforms in the party, I think, it may be helpful, but it's going to be a very, very difficult climb for them. Because, again, they are members of what many people, myself included, view as the worst administration that we've had in the post-election Bahamas.
Post-independent.
A post-independent Bahamas.
Dawn, there is, there's always a tug of war in a organization like this between the new faces, the newcomers, the future, and the more established, older experience. The PLP relies heavily on that older, experienced, I call it sometimes the boys' club. How are they, or how should they begin now to strike more of a balance with having those new faces and new people? And how do you do it when you've only got 4 members in the House and the same in the Senate? I mean, how do you get those people to the forefront of the party when there is no legislative foundation for them? They aren't seen or heard in Parliament.
I'm not here to cook the PLP soup, but I'll say this. I think they should take a page out of our book. I think the FNM has demonstrated over the years that they respect young persons coming into the party. If you look at our history, you would see that torchbearers would have come up, Tommy Tenquest, Carl Bethel, myself, Kwesi, several of us would have come up and become candidates and ministers and so forth. And to be able to continue to lift them up and not discount them like the former chairman did when they run for office, and to be able to put them in positions of authority and governance. What you've seen over the years is that even in the last PLP administration, you saw the same ministers who ran the former administration prior when they were in office. Basically the same, with the exception of 1 or 2 persons. Adele Kiedis, who might have went in for being a parliamentary secretary to Minister of State, Kayla Stowes, who came in fresh. With the exception of 1 or 2 persons, you didn't see that. Notwithstanding what the Prime Minister said about building the bridge, the Bahamian people remembered that. And what they saw was, we saw no bridge being built. We saw bridges being collapsed. And so my advice, if I could give advice to the PLP, because I think it's an advice for the country, really.
Yeah, you've got to have a viable opposition.
Yeah, the advice is to uplift young people, to embrace their interest in public service and in politics, and to be able to hold their hands and pull them up. And I think over the years, the Bahamian people have seen a lack of that in the PLP. And I would encourage not only the PLP to do that, because I'm a fresh member of Parliament. I'm privileged to serve the people of Tall Pines. I'm privileged to serve as Deputy Speaker of the House. There are several of us. The majority of the House now are new members of Parliament. Mm-hmm. And you've seen Dr. Minnis placed us in various positions. And I think in the coming days and the coming years, you'll see us playing more more leadership roles and meaningful roles in the governance of this country. And so the PLP, notwithstanding the fact that they are in opposition, I think they have to embrace themselves and the party for the future.
And Jerome, you know, one significant thing about the election as well was that the PLP lost a part of its base. So its challenge now is going to be winning back.
Capturing that
it's
base,
capturing back what the portion of its base that it lost, and trying to be appealing and relevant to younger voters.
Young Shannon Dawn and
young voters are going to be very important. As we wrap up, though, very quickly, I just got to put this out there. You know, Brave Davis has a yeoman's task. He has to now sort of, you know, repair a broken party in many ways. But from a personal perspective, he now really has to step into the role of leader. And always having been the number 2, he is now in charge, a role that really hasn't, I think, he's prepared for it in some ways, but he's never had to be that out front guy. What are going to be his challenges? Very quickly.
And even as a deputy prime minister, one would have expected him to be more in
he was not
front. He was not.
Yeah, he was.
So I think the Bahamian people want to see a 360-degree turn in the Honorable Brave Davis. I think the party wants to see that, and I think they want to see him more active in Parliament. They want to see him, as you spoke of a few seconds ago, embracing young talent into the party. I think what he does in the next 2 years, I think, is going to determine whether or not at that next convention he's going to be the leader, or Chester Cooper will challenge him.
Very quickly.
He's not the most inspirational type of guy. I mean, he's likable, not very inspirational. Doesn't, you know, get you going. But I mean, look at Hubert Minnis.
I was about to say he had the same issues
Dr.
coming in as leader of the
performance
FNM
as opposition leader was dismal.
You all gave him a very hard time.
It was dismal. It was very, very bad. I mean, but I mean, look where he is today. So I mean, we say in the newsroom that you know, if Dr. Minnis can become prime minister, then we should not discount others.
I think that's a good way. I think that's a good way to end the show, because, as I always say, politics is a theater, and it changes constantly, and things can happen overnight. And the electorate is never to be taken for granted. And I say that to every party, anyone out there who's considering entering politics or is in the game. Dawn Saunders, Kendia Dames, thank you so very much for being on the show tonight. It's been a great show. Again, I wish that we could have gotten a member of the PLP to be on the show tonight. I think we would have had, I have no clue. Maybe they're just, it was a busy week. I'll just leave it at that. We hope that you have enjoyed our show tonight. Special thanks to Dawn Saunders, Kendia Dames, Kyle Walkin, my producer, technical staff, and of course you, the audience, for watching each and every week. Be sure and join us for more On the Record, same time, same place next week. Once again, I'm Jerome Sawyer. Thanks.